Okay, so first video of the year. So the equation inequality challenge, as I call it, the thing that you worked out as a quiz, is kind of difficult to some people. Different pieces are harder than others. So what I'm going to do is just take it a little piece at a time here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the beginning. Now I've actually spread my document out a little teeny bit so that I can write just a little bit larger. But when I look at this first problem, the temptation that a lot of people have is to do like cross canceling. And it's not that there's something wrong with that, but I found that when we start crossing things out, it gets a little bit confusing. So what I would prefer on a problem such as this is to literally go straight at it. And what we learned back in elementary is when you multiply fractions, you can multiply straight across. And so notice x to the fourth and an x is x to the fifth. Don't forget that that has an exponent of a 1. And then down here we've got 20x to the 6th, y to the 13th. So that really was fairly quick. And then all we have to do is go through and notice if there's 5 x's on top and 6 on the bottom, that would cancel out to leave 1. And similarly, there we'd have y to the 6th. And I did that in part because then people get into the subtraction habit, but notice 30 over 20 is just 3 over 2. Now, if you had chosen to start coming in and canceling things out like this, you actually could come up with the same information. But what I've found is it starts to get really overwhelming to follow what all of that stuff is. It's all there, but sometimes it's just hard. Okay, second one, because we're only going to do the exponential problems on this video. Second one, again, order of operations kind of encourages us to simplify the interior of any problem like this first. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop these 3 x's to the bottom, which is actually going to make it x to the 5th. Because notice if these 3 pop to the bottom, because the definition of a negative exponent is a reciprocal. And similar, these 2 y's in the bottom actually join the 4 that are on top for a total of 6. Now, we're getting pretty close to being done with the problem, because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to employ the fact that a negative exponent is a reciprocal. So I took the entire fraction and I flipped it upside down. And then properties of exponents would simply say powers of powers multiply. 8 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24, and 4 to the 4th is 256, and I believe this is 2,401, which is just something that you could get from your calculator. Now, some people actually would do this problem a little bit differently. Some people would go ahead and go straight at it and say, well, let's see, 7 to the 4th is 2401, but I put it on the bottom because it did have an exponent that was negative, and it's similar, the 4 to the 4th is 256. I also flipped it. Powers of powers multiply. Powers of powers multiply. Again, just kind of going down the line through that. So some people choose not to simplify in the early phases, but you get down to the same exact answer because now these 20 x's would join those 12 for a total of 32. Now, number 3 is actually probably what I would anticipate is the hardest problem in the whole mix, because of the fact that these are separate parentheses. So, just using the fact that powers of powers multiply, that would be a to the 36 and b to the negative 18, a to the positive 36 and b to the negative 24. I'm just kind of going straight at that problem. And then I still have this negative 2 raised to the negative 9, which I'm going to deal with here in a second. But I noticed something really nice. Those just completely wiped each other out, and so we just don't have anything left. But interestingly enough, these 2 b's could actually be tweaked because they both have negative exponents, so they're both being flipped over, okay? And last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and drop this negative 2 to the 9th down here because, again, a negative exponent is a reciprocal. And so I'm pretty much done, because that means if I got 24 and 18, again, powers like that, subtract. And 2 to the 9th is 512. And a fact that you have known probably for a very long time is that if you have an odd number of negatives, you get a negative answer. And so that is actually the first 3 problems on what I've been calling the equation inequality challenge. In the next little one, I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of time to go over I guess, inequalities and equations. So anyway, I will see you on the next video in a moment. All right, see ya.